Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This is an urgent alert to anyone eligible to vote. Whether you vote is a matter of public record. Your friends, your family, your boss, anyone can check and see if you voted this year. Who you vote for is private. Whether you vote is not, and will be on your record forever. Vote by mail, vote early in person, or on November 5th. Don't get caught skipping this important task.
Paid for by Story Network Foundation.
Welcome.
Hi. This is a podcast called, wow, like nervous giggle I did.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. No, I do know. I need caffeine. Welcome to Don't Blame Me, a podcast where we give you wonderful, amazing, life-changing advice because that is the gift that we have been bestowed, and it would be selfish if we did not
Correct.
share that gift with the world or wherever you're listening, because we're not thinking small.
Mm-mm.
And as our...
We're not Earthis.
I mean, you're definitely not. You're... So what is the universe planet hopping version of a passport route? 'Cause that's your goal. You're like, take me on a trip I'd like to go someday. Pluto or Saturn, I'd like to see. Milky Way.
That was good.
Thank you. I used to write parody songs in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah, my friend and I, we made an entire Christmas album. We did a whole photo shoot with like a pamphlet that came
Where
out,
is
and we
this?
gave it to all of our friends. All of my fucking friends from high school still have it, and they will still send it. They're like, I get rid of all of my CDs. They're like, I've kept this. Like,
I'll be contacting Sydney right after this.
it's so good. We had one where instead of Gimme Gimme by ABBA, but we used like the Mamma Mia like backing track version. We changed it to Gibby Gibby, and Gibby was like this small secondary character on iCarly. We wrote one instead of Hey There Delilah, we did Hey There Jackson Carter, who was a kid we grew up with, and we made it like pretending like we were stalking him. And like years later, I was like, we were like 15, 16 when we made this, and like years later, I like messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, by the way, I'm so sorry. That was like so creepy. He goes, no, it's so funny. He's like, I tell people like all the time. Like, it's one of my favorite things ever. Like, do not apologize. Like, take it back. Like, do not apologize. Like, I love it. Like, it's my favorite thing. And then I'll show people your Instagram, and I'll be like, she made a song we were in high school about pretending to stalk me. And I was like, well, okay. So sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. Small town things. Small town things.
Can't say I participated in anything like that.
And take in mind that it was a Christmas present for friends, and that's also finals week. So everybody was studying, and while everyone was studying, I was like, I'm gonna make you a soundtrack to study. And it's like,
What?
Megan, don't you need to study? Yes.
Why did you quit doing this?
Well, that girl and I stopped being friends, so that was probably a part of it. Oh, and then I started drinking alcohol, and then I was like, fuck these parody songs. I'm gonna go party on the weekends. But now that I don't drink alcohol, maybe it's time for me to bring back the parody songs. It's the inner theater kid in me. Like, I was not a Glee theater kid. I was a DJ
Weird
Earworm one. A Weird Al. Oh my God. I say DJ Earworm the same time you say Weird Al.
I don't know who DJ Earworm is. So
He used to do the mashups. That was like a big thing at my high school. Like, he would do like a mashup with all the top songs of the year and make them into like United States of Pop was one. They're really fucking good. I can probably recite the entire mashup.
okay.
Anyways, I don't know how we got here.
I usually can track it back, but I forgot. So rewind. Okay, there it is.
There it is. So we're going to give you advice, and you're going to take it or you're not. But you can call in 310-694-0976 and leave us a voicemail. And what can international listeners do?
They can send us a voice memo to meganpodcast@gmail.com. Please keep it to 3 minutes or less and send it as an MP3. Y'all have been doing very good with that. So thank you.
She's impressed. Teacher is pleased. Teacher is impressed. And you might be wondering, why are we qualified? First of all, stop asking questions. Stay curious. Keep asking. What is that TikTok sound?
Mm-hmm.
Stay curious. Like, keep asking questions. It's from Brooke and Connor Make a Pot. No, it's from Brooke, Lady Efron.
Again, you're saying words. Don't know what they are.
They are words. They're not sentences. You're right on that. So, I guess we should introduce ourselves. My name is Megan.
My name's Melissa.
And together, we make up the hot button topic on Fox News. Eminem. Shall they wear heels? Should they wear sneakers?
Or boots.
I do want to say, I think the go-go boots is very Eminem's on brand. Like, I think we should just throw the go-go boots on. Flat boots, heeled boots.
When I was in high school, I wanted a green car because in Arkansas, we do vanity. Like, you can get vanity plates because we don't have front license plates like they do in California. And
Jealous.
so I wanted it to say there's something about the green ones and then my initials are M&M, and it would have been perfect, but I didn't get a green car.
I was just about to say, maybe that should be our next Halloween costume. Is what we're M&Ms.
That works too.
And we can pick whatever color. What's the tall M&M? Is that the
yellow?
Red one? Yellow?
You're dressed already.
She already called me Arthur before that. And she was like, no, pose like him. Like I'm a doll.
I said, make a fist.
Make a fist. And I said,
put on your other glasses because they're closer.
I didn't do it because I'm a rebel. You can't tell me what to do. So we're going to give advice, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. And if you want to watch the video version of this podcast, or you just want to support our show, we also do live streams. Everything's on our Patreon. It starts at $1 a month, and you can contribute how much you want for, if you go past $7, I think it's 1 to 7.
6.
1 to 6?
Mm-hmm.
Are we sure?
I'm positive.
Are your glands swollen?
I like to feel my pulse sometimes just to make sure I'm still alive.
I've told you multiple times, I can never feel my pulse.
Mine's right there.
I can never feel it.
Let me see.
And then in like PE class.
It's right there.
Well, maybe I can feel it more now with the post-COVID.
Oh, yeah. You gotta push into it though. It's right there.
Oh, I can feel it now. If I remember in high school,
you just like touching it before? No, you gotta push it.
Oh.
As somebody who took first responder.
Which every day I'm thankful for. When I look at my earrings, I'm like thankful. No, in PE class, I remember we had to like do like a segment on, first aid health or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my teacher. I'm like, I can't have a pulse. And he was like, you have a fucking pulse. Okay. Support our Patreon. Support the show. Live streams are very fun. Anything else? Or should we get into...
Let's get into the calls.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm 25 and use she, her pronouns. I'm calling to get advice on how to tell my extremely Christian parents that I'm not religious. Here's the context. My parents are Christian immigrants who have raised me and my 2 older siblings to be super religious, and my siblings still are. We live in the South and went to church every single Sunday unless we were either sick or out of town. In the past couple of years, I've left Christianity for various reasons, including religious trauma that is largely due to my parents and how they raised me. I'm also bisexual, which makes things extra rough since my parents are definitely homophobic. My parents otherwise are good parents. We have a decent relationship, but the ways that they've traumatized me with religion have obviously made it super hard for me to feel like I can be myself around them and talk openly about my friendships and relationships. I was in therapy for 6 months last year for my religious trauma, and since then I've been much happier and actually able to date, which I didn't do for many religious trauma, purity culture, closeted, queer-related reasons. For a while, I decided about lying to my parents about being religious. It was completely fine since it's none of their business, and I live a couple of hours away from them, and I'm financially independent. In every other relationship I have, though, I'm super open and honest. They're not being forthcoming about not being Christian anymore really fucking bothers me. My last romantic relationship was with someone who was Christian, even though I wasn't, and that ended ultimately because of being incompatible with faith. And I definitely learned from that mistake. So now in my new, current relationship, I'm with someone who shares my beliefs, used to be Christian and also is not. He's a much better fit for me than my ex, and it's really great. But I know whenever I tell my parents about him, the first thing they're going to ask about is if he's Christian, and I'm just tired of lying to them, especially because I don't want to put him in a situation where he'd have to be dishonest. I know I'm thinking about this kind of early, but I'm calling in now because I think I'll literally need a long ass time to mentally prepare myself to have this kind of conversation with my parents. I want to be honest with them for myself, first and foremost, like more so than my boyfriend, just because it's important to me. But now that I'm dating someone who isn't Christian, it's making me think about this a lot more. This is tough because being honest with them is basically me telling them that the one thing they want most in life, which is for all of their kids to be Christian, is something they can't have. So please let me know any tips you have for how to approach this conversation or the situation in general. Thank you so much. Bye.
You got this one, right?
Oh, I've got so much experience with this one. I know all about God and the Christian and the Easter and the not Black Friday. What's it called? There you go. I'm very well versed in it.
I am a gal from the South that went to church every Sunday as well. I have gone back and forth with what my faith is for a while, especially once I was no longer going to church. I kind of stopped going to church in college. I would go sometimes, but not all the time. And then after college, I was like, I don't know if I believe in God anymore. And now I've gotten to the point where it's more of just like, I have a relationship, like I believe in God. I have a relationship with God. And technically I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church at all. And I don't want to go to church. I think if I had kids, then I'd probably like put them in Sunday school, but like and then they got like a base understanding and then they could choose for themselves what they wanted later. And also my mom is a minister, but my parents are more like, I don't know.
They're going to die for that.
I don't know what, like how it's like, they're not very like they would like us to have like be Christians, and all of us, me and my sisters, we all like identify as being Christians, but none of us go to church regularly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like I would say that your parents, their number one like wish for their kids is for their kids to be happy and like have good morals and that kind of thing. You get those morals, you learned them through religion or not.
Right.
You ended up at that same, and your parents are progressive. Like
they're progressive.
And like they're not homophobic.
Yeah, they're not homophobic. They're not people that like are hateful towards other groups, but I can understand where you're coming.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Coming from how you're afraid, because like when you do grow up in it, it is difficult when you realize, especially when I was like, do I actually believe in God anymore? That was hard, and I never told my parents that I was questioning that, because that would have been a hard conversation. But yeah, when I was questioning, I was like scared to tell them. And then when I came, it was kind of like coming to my own and realizing what I wanted and what I had. Then it was fine. But then I was like, I'm not going to church and I'm not participating in certain things. And after I really didn't like have like a sit down conversation with them, but when things came up, I would share my thoughts, my specific thoughts, and they still like, they're fine with they're not like overly excited about it. Like mom still like sometimes will be like, come to church with me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. Especially if it's an early service, which it usually is around when I go for the holidays.
Like very early in the morning?
Like 8 o'clock, and definitely not.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But like, they're not completely, like, they're fine with it, then they're not completely okay with it. And I don't think they'll ever be. But like, if I think like if you come from a place where this is my own relationship with the faith and you yourself, you don't have a relationship. If you come from it like, this is what I've decided to do with my life and I'm happy, I'm thriving. Also, you said you weren't financially dependent upon it. Like, it's their choice to accept it or not. You can't force anybody to accept it. But I also don't think, I don't think you need to make a grand announcement. But if it does get to the point where your parents ask if your partner is religious or not, just say they have the same type of belief that I have.
Yeah.
And like you can say as much as you want, and you said you have time and you feel like you might be jumping the gun a little bit, but like you do have time to figure out what that is. But like, and also you said you've been in therapy talking about your religious trauma. Ask your therapist their thoughts on it. But like, just sharing what like bits and pieces of your life without going into too much detail can help in the beginning. And I think they'll eventually get it. They're not going to be happy. And I don't think that they're going to be like jumping for joy for it in the beginning, but they'll get used to it.
Yeah. Parents have like a hard time. A lot of parents, I can't speak for all, I mean, I'm not even a parent, but like, if you take the trauma part of it, like knowing that they played any role in harming their child, like that's a really hard pill for a lot of parents to swallow. And then when there's a religious aspect to that, it's kind of like you have this whole thing backing you up and why you didn't cause any trauma and why that was fine. Like you have a higher power or a faith that like implored you to do that, and therefore it can kind of make someone think they're even more right. Like it can really, really like stick them in on that. And so I would talk to your therapist about like, what's your goal from like your parents in this situation? Because like this makes me really sad. And like you saying, like my parents are definitely like homophobic. So if the goal is for like them to be accepting of it, that's not a goal that like you can control. And so it, like Melissa said, like I think there's like a way to, and I obviously don't have any experience in the religious aspect of it, but anytime that there is an interaction you have with someone in a relationship that they have caused harm in, I'm a big believer in you should speak up. You should be like, you should say what you want. You should be clear with that. But the only time I think that you should do that is when you're ready for all of the potential outcomes, not just financially, but also emotionally. And we also know that like, I'm a big fan of lying when you need to lie. Like, and I know you're like, you don't want to keep lying anymore, but I would also unpack like, why? Do you feel guilt? Like, do you feel like you should be honest and truthful? Or is it that you're getting frustrated with this life, this fake life that you've kind of created for them, and you're resenting them for loving that version of you who's really not you, but then knowing that if you tell them the real you are really forthcoming about all of this, they might still really love that fake you, like not the one of you being honest and truthful about like your life and your experiences with it. So I agree in the baby steps kind of way, and like really think through your actions, because I, again, didn't grow up religious, have like pretty much no understanding of it. And that's also because I grew up with a parent with a massive amounts of religious trauma. So I don't know much about religion, and I really didn't grow up with like any of it. Didn't go to, you know, my story of my church one time, which I was like, this is great. It was a Black church, Martin Luther King Day. And my dad was like, this is not your church. And when I see people talking about their experience with religious trauma as some like an outsider perspective, which I don't know if it's helpful at all, but like I look at that and I'm like, getting through trauma without the tie to like essentially what children have been taught from like moral right and wrong, having that loom over you and basically have to reconstruct your entire belief system of like the decisions that you make for yourself, not for somebody else, and for like the gut indicator, like the not being able to necessarily know what that feeling of, like if you're feeling like guilt about something of like, oh, you did something bad, not like societal expectations and standards and all of that. I look at people who are going through that and I'm like, it's so hard to process and deal with your trauma without having a belief system that's been a part of your life and your entire upbringing that you've never been separated from. Like you grew up with that. So like your moral compass, your idea of right and wrong has been associated with religion the entire time. And the decision making when you're going through trauma and trying to process all of that is a lot of like, am I crazy? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I all of this other kind of stuff? And so that to me is really, really, really hard. And that's kind of a similar but less intense relationship that people have with their parents. Like it's a relationship you've always known. It's something you've grown up with. It's like taught me right from wrong and all of this stuff. So there are a lot of like layers within that. And so I think the time that you can take with figuring exactly how you want this to go and then coming up with all of the options of the ways that it can go and knowing like, are you okay with this? Do you have a plan in place with this? Like, do you have even something as simple as, do I have people I could spend the holidays with the next time? Like, is this like, if I decide to like tell them everything and it does not go well, do I have a life plan for the events coming up in my life that I don't feel like alone in after this?
Or you might end up going to holidays and then they're like, oh, she's just lost right now and she'll eventually find her way back. Like, is that something that you're okay with like dealing with? Because that could also happen.
Yeah. And I would also be curious what your boyfriend says about like what, if you're both in a similar.
Who you vote for is private. But everyone will know if you voted or not. It's a matter of public record. And when this election is decided by a handful of votes in your neighborhood, you don't want your friends and family to know you let them down. Voting is easy. Make a plan to vote by mail, vote early in person, or on November 5th. Make sure people know you did your civic duty.
Paid for by Story Network Foundation.
Plays sometimes like it's a lot easier for people to kind of go along with a facade, like when it's not their family. But sometimes it's like, no, I've already done all of this. Like I'm not comfortable pretending to be someone I'm not or whatever that is. So I think that should also be a conversation that shouldn't influence the choices that you make in your own life, but anything that you would invite him into, that they would be there, that you're on the same page. But I'm sorry, this is really hard.
All right, next call.
Woo.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. I'm 27 years old and my boyfriend is 24, going to be 25 soon. We've been dating for like 4.5 years now. Started in October 2018. And I recently found out that he actively physically cheated and emotionally cheated with a girl that he told me had nothing to worry about. Physically cheated about 8 months into our relationship. Emotionally cheated practically the whole time. Up until she had gotten a boyfriend and had a baby. So that's when the communication did technically stop or at least chill out. I did call previously, but this was when I was just found out and I was super emotional and my heart was breaking. And now I'm kind of in a dissociative state, so I feel like I have a little bit more clarity. I don't know what to do because this is a man that I have loved for 4 years. He's the one who wanted to be official and be exclusive and not talk to anybody else. Little did I know that when he went to California to see his friends, he was making out with his friend's little sister. Little meaning his friend was like 30, his sister was like 24 at the time, so not a minor. But they made out, they cuddled, they apparently touched, and tonight I went out with my friends and him, and he lost his phone and I found it, and I decided to snoop. And I know you always say, don't snoop if you don't want to find anything. Well, I've always been uncomfortable about this, so I went back and I found it, and there are paragraphs and hundreds of messages of him saying about how much he wants to kiss her neck and take off her clothes and do bad things with her and so on and so forth. And my friend says my friend that I went out with tonight said that he loves me and that he would never do anything to hurt me and I'm his world. But this is a girl that I've asked about him several times. I met the girl and he told me I had nothing to worry about. he made me look like a fool in front of his friends and this girl. Meanwhile, he had this whole affair with her. And now I just don't know what to do because, yeah, it was 4 years ago technically, but I found out about it now. He lied about it the whole time, and I'm just so fucking hurt. That's all. Please give me some advice. Thank you. Also, he's a Taurus and I'm an Aquarius, if anything. Bye.
Just to start, we're not
judging.
No.
We just have questions.
And we have questions for you, and we're not going to like publicly say what, like, we're not going to speculate on any of it. But if you could send us an email, if you don't feel comfortable talking, like if you can send us an email or you can send us another voicemail about your first call you called us in January.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to say what that was about or whatever. Like we're going to give you advice on the call that you've given us today, but the sound quality of that one in January is not great, but it makes this really confusing timeline wise.
Yes.
So
very confusing.
Yeah. And the sound quality is not that great. So like
we might have misheard, but
that seems like we've misheard a lot, a lot of things. But again, we're going to give you advice on the call you gave today, but I don't know how, if we can have some clarity on that, we would be able to give you, I think, more better advice. Because it does feel like we're kind of going against
what has already been said. In case y'all don't know, if people have called in before, sometimes we listen back.
Yeah.
Just to get the sense of what's happened, see if things have changed
especially
from the other
relationships.
call. Especially when it's relationships. And the other call just doesn't quite
fit into this timeline.
Mm-hmm. Please let us know.
Please do. So I guess my first thing is, like, if this happened 4 years ago, so it happened 8 months into the relationship, was the physical thing, the emotional thing was the whole time. And did we know exactly when it ended?
Mm-mm.
Because my question is, if you were still snooping, if you decided to snoop after, I don't know, presumably there's a whole baby. So this is at least a year, maybe 2 years. That's still on your mind.
Right.
So to me, that is, his behavior hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because sure, you can have a feeling about someone that, like, oh, this feels like this might be like a sketch kind of relationship. But the reason why you have that feeling is because of the person that you're dating, and you know how they react to that person. It's not like bred out of thin air. It's because, like, I'm dating you. I know how you are when you like someone, and this is like this. I'm getting bad vibes. And that's why it's like, it's never about the other person. It's about how you're relating to this other person. So my question is, or my assumption is from that, if this had happened, let's say like 2 years ago, then I don't think his behavior has changed in a way that, like, is significant for you, that this is still top of mind, and that this is, that the second that you have his phone, the first thing you want to do is snoop.
Right.
Which is not like, I'm not against, we're very not against snooping, but
you snoop because you have a reason to snoop. You just wouldn't look out of the blue.
No. And especially if, like, they stopped their friendship, she got a boyfriend, like they had a baby, and your relationship with him, like, he made a complete pivot in all of that. Like, you wouldn't look. And so to me, I think any relationship can get through, like, honestly, probably any, like, you can get through anything in a relationship if both parties want to and put that work into it. To me, like, the fact that he didn't tell you any of it and you had to find this out. Yes, that's the worst. That really fucking sucks. But also, he didn't make you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the fact that it still weighed so heavy on your mind and it was still this, like, big unanswered question was because, like, there were cracks. Like, I don't think that he has redeemed himself in, like, the, wow, I really fucked up. I'm going to cover my ass and I'm not going to tell her. And then she's never going to have any doubts, because you still had doubts.
You had doubts. And even if you said that it ended, you know, if we just cut off the baby part, like, at least a year ago, he still had these messages in his phone.
Yeah.
And then you knew, if he hasn't messaged her in over a year, you knew to go to that text message.
Yeah. And, like,
does he have a trip coming up to California again? And you were worried about that and you had an inkling?
Yeah. Why was it top of mind for you? Because to me, that just speaks volumes of like the relationship. And she's not the problem. He's the problem. And this, I think, is proof of that because she's eliminated from this situation. But there's been a lot of time there and you still rightfully have these feelings about it because he's the common denominator. And it doesn't seem like, you know, he's put the work in to make you even not want to snoop. Like, because that's the thing, like for anyone who hasn't snooped, there's a huge difference between like, there's this like line of like, you can be a really curious person, but then there's like blissful ignorance that you're like, if it's there, I don't even want to know because like, I'm happy. Like, I don't want it, like whatever that. So there isn't just a kind of person who like, oh, I'm curious. I need to know everything, all of that. Like that's not like a passive kind of feeling that you do when you're really secure in your relation. It's just not. And so to me, that this is like a symptom of like a much bigger issue, which is his part in the relationship, and not just his part in the relationship and straying from the relationship with her, but his relationship with you. And that's where it seems like, sure, in theory, can you get over something from 4 years ago? But it's not like this was a thing, like you've been stewing on this thing for 4 years. This wasn't like, oh, this was a one-time indiscretion. Like the fact that you then snooped and this event happened, the physical event happened 4 years ago. You've been living with that feeling of this person and all of this for 4 years. And he knew that and watched you go through this for 4 years of that. And there's been no redemption arc from him. Like, you're not shocked. This isn't like, oh, like our relationship took a massive turn for the better after all of this. Like, he started going to therapy. Like, he just became so much more present and was such a better partner. Like, he wasn't. It's just that now that you found out that this was a part of the journey and you've kind of been like, okay, wow, so I was right. And then what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, what do you want to do with this information? Because you've told your friends, and I don't like how your friends.
It seems like it was a mutual friend, right?
Yeah. I don't like how they.
Like, he loves you.
Yeah.
He would never hurt. Well, he did hurt me.
You. Yeah.
So...
Like, and there's proof that he did it. So I don't like how that whole thing went down. So it's like, now you have the information. What do you want to do? How do you want to proceed? Is this something that you can move past? Have you at this point? Because now it's been like when this comes out, it'll be like a week since you called in. Have you talked to him about it? What did he say? Did he admit to it or did he continue lying? How do you want to move on?
Yeah.
And you don't have to decide now. Like, it's still new. Take some time and figure out what you want.
And also, you can try something and then be like, okay, this is not what I want. Like, there is no set in stone game plan for you. Like, you can go based on how you feel. But I think beyond figuring out what you want, you need to figure out what he wants and what he's capable of. Because the idea of like, I want to work through this, I want to be better, that's all. Then it's like, okay, so what are you doing? So be better.
Right. And then like the lying part, like what's going to be different? Is he going to continue lying or is he not? And what happens if you catch him in another lie?
And what happens about the friends? Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable with my part. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that kind of friendship because it's like, you're justifying this by being like, I'm blowing this out of proportion when it's clearly not. So like, did you know about this part? And then how much was this kept from me? Like, how many enablers have you been surrounded by? And like, this isn't something that you both need to work on in your relationship. Like, it's something that he needs.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Needs to work on, and moving past it at this point doesn't require anything from you other than participation in him leading that there. But if you're having to like tell him what to do or how to make it better or like what he like, that's not someone who is committed to the growth, because this isn't, as much as he did this to you, it wasn't about you. Like, it's about him. So he needs to grow and do better as an individual and a person. And that means that he will be treating everyone better and everyone with respect, like his romantic relationships, his friendships, his coworkers, his family, like, but that driving force has to be him wanting it. Like, it's not a relationship issue. It's a him issue. The relationship is a casualty of him, like not respecting him, not respecting the people that he supposedly cares about. And so I also think if you don't see him doing that, and if you don't, that you do not owe him to stick around and watch him go through the motions and pretend to try to get better. Like, it's just like, trust your gut in the sense of like, can you get past this, but can you see him growing and not being this person anymore and doing all of this? Like, can you see him put in that work, and why can you see that? Is it a fantasy, or have you seen how when he's approached with a task that he needs to do, like, is he good at bettering himself? Like, does he focus on self-improvement? Is he open to like mental health and therapy? Like, has he worked on his boundaries and relationships with other people in his life? Like, how does he deal with like shame and guilt and struggle? Like, how does he overcome obstacles in his life? Does he ignore them? Does he abandon? Like, what does he do? Because how he operates in the rest of his life is how he will operate in, you know, growing from this. But you also don't have to stick around for that.
Right.
I think there's also nothing wrong with reaching out to this woman and being like, she might not respond to you. She might completely ignore you, but she might respond and being like, hey, I just found this out and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to move forward in this relationship or not. And I am not going to be able to do that if he's not 100% honest with me. Can you tell me exactly what happened and I can line it up? She might lie, she might whatever, but at a certain point, what do you have to lose in that situation? And a lot of people have kids and they have a lot of clarity about like the mistakes that they've made and the things that they wouldn't want to repeat. And for her, it might be a healing thing of like, I really fucked up and couldn't apologize because I don't know what you know and I didn't want to do anything like that. So she's not the number one enemy here. And I don't think there's any harm in theory. Maybe not good for you personally, and that's a choice that you have to make. But in theory of asking her for honesty and being able to cross-reference that with him. But at this year, many years into a relationship, you should know when he's lying. It doesn't have to be either or, like I'm breaking up and we're mad and like fuck him, or well, I was right in the satisfaction. It can be both. Like you can have that satisfaction of like, I'm not glad that this is what happened, but I'm glad that my gut was I can trust my gut. Like I'm glad that like that feeling there, I can solidify that, especially if you choose maybe not move forward in the relationship, but at least try and get more honesty out of him. Now knowing that like you can really, really, really trust your gut. And you can really know when he's not being truthful with you.
Right. But caller, please, because we've got questions.
We've got questions.
Let's take a break.
Woo! And we are back. Let's play the call. Sorry. The words were hard to get out of my mouth.
I'm 20 and use she, her pronouns. My ex-girlfriend, who is 21 and uses she, her pronouns, and I broke up 2.5 months ago after dating for over 2 years. For a little background on our relationship, we went to the same high school and started dating right after we graduated in 2020. I went to college about 30 minutes from my hometown, and she stayed there to work, so it wasn't too much distance. Our relationship was amazing, and we loved each other so much. Flash forward a year, her family moved back to the state they were originally from to be closer to family, and she had to make the choice of whether to stay or go. She tried staying for a few months, but ultimately decided to move back to them because she just wasn't ready to live on her own yet. I supported that decision 100%. She's had a lot of hardships with her family her entire life and struggles with her mental health, so I just wanted her to be happy and healthy. We did long distance, about a 5-hour drive for a year, and it was hard, but we both fought to make it work. Unfortunately, through the distance, our relationship didn't grow and lost passion when we were apart. I'm very busy at school, and she had been struggling with a lot of family issues. It was hard for me to understand everything she was going through and support her through it from far away while juggling my busy life. She needed more support from me as a partner, but I just couldn't meet her at that level no matter how hard I tried, and I got very down on myself. So we mutually decided to break up. I wish things were different, but our situation just got in the way, and I wasn't good with the distance. After 2.5 months, I'm still struggling with the breakup, and these past few weeks have been especially hard. I've been tapping into my emotions and reflecting on the past, and honestly, I've just been feeling a lot of guilt that I couldn't be there for someone that I cared for with my whole heart, and I let my busy life at school get in the way. How do I heal from a breakup that was mutual when I'm now feeling a lot of guilt and shame for why it ended? Another thing is, after we broke up, we stayed in contact. She had a really hard family thing happen right after we broke up, and I just wanted her to know that I was still there. But we went no contact a few weeks ago so that I can really work on myself and healing, because I'm really struggling, and she's a lot farther in her healing journey from me and doesn't really want to talk about it anymore. Do you guys think it's worth rekindling the friendship one day? Because even though the relationship didn't work out, I still really miss her as my best friend, and I just really don't want to lose her in my life. I started going to therapy this week to work through these things, but any advice that you guys have would mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for taking my call.
Obsessed with your voice. I love, that just it felt like sunshine and rainbows. And obviously your situation is not, you're not feeling like sunshine and rainbows, but you have a lovely, lovely voice to listen to. This is hard because my instincts kind of switched as she kept talking.
Yeah. The thing with relationships are that, when it's a really good relationship, that person that you're with is your best friend.
Yeah.
And when you break up, you're not just breaking up in a romantic way. It's also a friendship. And I know that you don't want to lose your best friend, but it sounds like that she doesn't want that friendship.
Or if she doesn't want that best friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And there needs to be a bigger divide, because there is my high school boyfriend and I were he was one of my best, my best guy friend, one of my best friends. And when we broke up, it was really hard. It was losing a friend and a relationship. And we didn't ever move forward. But if we were to move forward as friends, we would never be able to be best friends again, because our best friendship was rooted in love that was also romantic. And that's really the only difference between in a relationship where you're not a romantic or asexual. The intimacy of the romantic emotional intimacy and the physical intimacy is what differentiates between a friendship and a romantic relationship. So that best friendship is rooted in that. She became your best friend. I don't know if she was your best friend before, but again, if you were romantically involved, that's always going to be woven into that friendship. So it can't be that again, because it being that again is it being a romantic relationship. They're not separate. Initially I was going to say tell her how you feel and just really apologize. I think there's something great about the fact that, especially at your age and being in your early 20s, is you learn really quickly. You make mistakes or you do things and actions, and we start to recognize a pattern in our own behavior or something that we're not proud of a lot quicker than we do when we're younger. That's something that's really great about growing up. But if she doesn't want to talk about it anymore and she's a lot farther along in that, then I don't think you should reach out, because she doesn't need it.
Right.
And this definitely sucks. And I can only speak out from an outside perspective. And so anyone who is in same-sex relationships, specifically women who date other women, feel free to be no, you're fully wrong. But
yeah, because we've before people have been y'all straight show.
We've said things. My bad. Sometimes our straight shows.
But from talking to my other my queer friends, they're mostly still in friendships with their exes.
Totally. And the thing is that from my cis hetero perspective, the idea of like dating a woman and knowing how deep female friendships are, my breakups with female friendships have been harder than romantic relationships. There is a closeness that like you have with other women. Like there is just something like, there's something hormonal about it. There's like something just like really the understanding of that. Like, so a breakup of that to me, I'm like, holy fuck, that would be so fucking hard because of how close you get as women without the romance. Like, I don't get romantically close to women, but like how close I get with women, I get so much closer with my female friends and my male friends, like in the pacing of it. So I think that like this makes sense to me why this like has really shaken you up, and like you don't want to lose that friendship there, because I do think female friendships are very different, and like there is a much deeper thing there that's harder to kind of let go of. But I think that like until you can recognize that you're both at the same place, I don't think that it's worth it to pursue a relationship, because it's going to be at the expense of one of you or both of you, like your emotions and your feelings. And she's not going to be always ahead of you in the moving on process. Like there gets to a point where you've moved past it, and it's kind of like once you reach that finish line, you've reached it. You don't keep going on farther past the other person. Like it's not going to be this constant game of catch up. But I do think that you lost two things at once, and you're recognizing now that like you're not proud of the actions and how you handled it at the time. And guilt and shame are not productive and like some of the cruelest emotions that we can put ourselves through. And you've remained in contact with her. It seems like you saying that the no contact thing was a few weeks so you can work on yourself and move along. That seems like it was either something that you brought up or she brought up out of love. And without needing to get further validation from her, but recognizing that she allowed you to remain in her life to support her through a friendship that wasn't as deep as a relationship, that you're not a horrible person. And people who are horrible people don't look back on their past actions with this much remorse, this much like guilt, and wanting to make it better and to make it right. And you've already taken the step to start going to therapy. The good thing about those emotions is they can't stay forever. You know, like I think of some emotions, like I think of like rage, like some emotions are like a fire, like they come fast and they burn hard, but like you get tired, like your body has to wear out of them eventually. It's like lust. There are these certain things that like, they're the most intense emotions ever, but they can't last years. They're like the highest of the highs, and they can come up and they can come down. Like they can like ebb and flow in that way, but you're not going to feel worse than you do right now.
Right.
It's going to keep feeling better. And the real thing is that like, I've done so many things I'm not proud of. Like I've been an absolute cunt. Like I've been a fucking bitch. Like I've said awful things about people. Like I've done shitty things. And the only way that we're all not eaten up by guilt all the time is because like we learn from them and we don't do them anymore. And then it becomes like a person that is a part of your past, but it's not someone you recognize, and it's someone that you can acknowledge like, okay, you know, that was you then, but I'm really glad I'm not doing that anymore. And so it's not about proving it to her. I think you really need to prove it to yourself, and that truly is the time, and not trying to rewrite this relationship in a way that eases you of guilt, but that going into your other relationships with this knowledge of like, I didn't like how I carried myself through this, and I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
So it's hard. And I think back even just to friends that I feel like I'm like, I wonder if I just feel like I wasn't there for them enough during this, or maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but knowing that like, I don't want to burden the other person with that. But I also do acknowledge that like, you know, if this person has like maintained a relationship with me in their life, they've met me where I'm at certain points, and I've met them where they're at. There's an ebb and flow there. And like the best thing I can do is just be a better version of myself for them and other people that I meet. So best of luck. I think you'll find that therapy can be really helpful and insightful for this stuff.
Oh, and I do want to say, because I have mentioned before that I'm friends with exes. And I just want to make sure that y'all don't think that like I've I've changed, like I'm lying or anything.
No.
But one of them's gay, so that's not an issue. One of them I wasn't in love with him. So like, we never said we were in love with him.
Okay.
We were just together.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
And like, we're still friends. And then one of them still very strong sexual emotions towards the other. And when either of us are in a relationship, we don't talk to each other. So,
yeah. So if the person from the second relationship, if you're a significant other, if you are the significant other listening, know that you're not the third relationship.
Yeah.
You're the second one.
Clearly.
Just want to make sure.
They know.
I know. I just want us to all be on the same page.
Okay.
Now it's time for Don't Blame Them or Don't Blame Thems. We're doing two.
Thems'em.
What is Don't Blame Them?
Don't Blame Them is when y'all call in to share your own advice. It could be a situation that you have in common with the person, or you just have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, based on a call that's been on a previous episode. It's a great little segment. We love to hear what you have to say. Sometimes it starts new conversations.
Hi, I'm calling for a triple whammy, Don't Blame Them, because so much of the most recent episode applied to me. So my calls are about codependent with your mom, boyfriend doesn't take initiative, postpartum sex. I will go quick, so I make the 3 minutes. I'm a 29-year-old, her lawyer who just had a baby this year, and I'm married to a 30-year-old attorney. Being codependent with mom, this can sometimes be a cultural norm. As a South Asian woman, it was expected that I would just let my mom scream at me and that we would just be okay later. I tried standing up to her in the past, and it led to me sometimes being slapped and having to go no contact. That is not something you can really do if you're financially dependent. So I recommend working on getting to being like not financially dependent. It also took my husband standing up for me, which was really scary, but also necessary after we had a baby. And I would just say that follow the advice that Melissa, Mutz, and Megan gave, and also maybe try doing a 3-way call with the collection agency, because 3-way calls have been super helpful. I'm medically disabled, and with collection calls for my chronic illness, that has been really helpful, is doing a 3-way call. Lawyer boyfriend, it sounds like he's still in school, not fully an attorney yet, so these issues will probably only get worse, unfortunately, once the stresses of the job come up. And you might just not be a good fit for one another, but if you wanted, you could try the love languages quiz to see how he gives love and how you receive love, and have a conversation about that. You also might have an anxious attachment style and need more affirmation, and he could be more secure. So that might be something you might need to work on as well, but it is possible that it's just maybe not the right fit. And postpartum, I will speak directly to the caller for this. Hi, Mama. I know you're in the thick of it right now. I know things are really hard. Your body's different, your brain is different, and your life is different. Your brain's making things a lot worse than it actually is and way more complicated. My husband struggled with performance anxiety, Catholic guilt, and sex was really mental for him. And I think we need to reformat the way we see men and talk about them. I know they're not always the greatest, but you married your partner for a reason, and he's probably fatigued. He's going through a huge life change, and newborns can make dads feel lost and insecure and just like they're not doing enough and they don't know what's going on, and it's a development for them too. So expecting him to finish during all of that is not a fair expectation. And if we put that same expectation on ourselves or other women, we would say that's not reasonable. So men can enjoy the act of having sex even if they don't finish. Sometimes my husband is so tired, he just doesn't have it in him, but he likes kissing and cuddling, so maybe try other forms of intimacy if he doesn't have the energy, and then get a therapist. It's been super helpful for me. I had a really bad PPA. I just want you to know you're not alone. I'm here for you. The podcast is here for you. It's really fucking hard, but it gets better. I promise it gets better. Do not be afraid to get help. I'm sending you so much love. Okay, thanks. Bye.
That was so sweet.
It was.
Incredibly thought out.
Mm-hmm.
You went to law school.
Yeah.
You finished law school.
Uh-huh.
You're so impressive. I think about that postpartum caller all the time.
I'm wondering how she's doing.
Yeah. Anyone who's listening to the podcast for postpartum, like, I think that the fact that we're talking about postpartum a lot more in spaces with people who don't have kids yet, who haven't gone through that, I really hope it's going to be taking a lot of the stigma away and the preparation and hopeful advocacy, because it's incredibly hard to advocate for yourself when you're going through it. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot easier to kind of put up measures in place beforehand. or know something that you could be anticipating, especially like informing your partner and your partner, not informing your partner being informed on their own accord about these different things. So shout out to anyone who's currently going through that, and that original caller as well. And thank you to this caller for reaching out and,
Sharon.
Yeah, the podcast is here for you guys.
All right. Next one.
Hello, Meghan and Melisa. So this is for the episode Becoming a Sugar Daddy for the girl who wants a sugar daddy. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm 25. So I do agree with Meghan and Melisa starting off with an OnlyFans first. However, you do need a following. So what I did was I started a Twitter, like a spicy Twitter, and pretty much got a following from there. And after I got like over 1,000 followers, that was when I started my OnlyFans. And that was how I was able to get traction and new followers. Another thing is I do not know how Reddit works, but there are a lot of kinky people on Reddit. Like, trust me. Like, I have seen like some of my friends who also have OnlyFans promoting theirs on Reddit, and were able to get traction as well. Like, there's people with like different fetishes on there. Another thing, use this as a last resort. I used to do this, not anymore, because I got banned from Tinder. So what you do on Tinder or Bumble, you set up an age, like maybe over 50 plus, and you would find some like lonely boomers. And also set the distance for really far, because I don't want to meet people like in real life, and that's scary. And so I would do this. I would get like money from people via Cash App, via Venmo. I would also have it in my bio, but since Tinder is pretty strict with that, they banned me. Bumble, however, did not, but I don't do that anymore. So yeah, I really hope all these things help. Love the podcast, love you guys, and yeah, good luck.
I want to reiterate, that's a lifetime ban for people.
Yeah.
So like, if you're going to do it as a last resort, like, it can't be a dating app that you ever want to use again. Mm-hmm. And if they come out with like a new dating app, it's highly likely that you will also be banned from that. I think that's like a great call. I gotta say, I see the tweets. I follow people who have started doing, OnlyFans and things. And I gotta say, the engagement I've seen on some of these on Twitter and stuff, I'm like, oh, wow. Or people will like post about like a photo. And there's a lot of times that like, there's a lot of like resharing of photos of people that once you put it out on Twitter, you don't own it anymore. It's not copyrighted. So other people will post it. And I saw
advertised.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, I saw someone that like I had known who like, was doing this, and they were replying to a tweet that someone had done of being like, oh my God, like this, like something about this man. And people were tagging him, and they were like, oh, he's got an OnlyFans. They're like, oh my God, whatever happened to the content he's making? They're like, oh no, he's doing OnlyFans now. And like he responded and was like, hey, and they were like, oh, fuck yeah. And like the engagement on those tweets were crazy. And yes, same thing for subreddits. Like I usually see them from Am I the Asshole, where you like will then look at who posted it, and it'll be like the original poster's history, and they'll be like complaining like, my wife won't cook dinner for me every night, like what a fucking like bitch, like I do everything for her. And then people will just like drag the poster's history, where it's like literally all you do is interact with these OnlyFans accounts and talking about like, I want to give you money, like I love you, you're like all of this stuff. And people are like, So that's also a huge thing.
And TikTok too. I don't know as far as like women, but I know men, they are on TikTok and they'll do like pictures of them like working out or something, but they'll show like their print, they're working out, and then their dig print.
Oh, okay.
They'll wear,
yeah.
They literally sit there and get themselves a little hard and then
do a
video.
Can't do that if you
can't do
have
full
that.
hair.
Well, no, I just mean like I think that there's a little more leeway with the penis havers.
Yeah, but
on TikTok.
But I don't know. There might be a woman equivalent, but I'm just not on that side of TikTok. So I'm sure there is. But like people will then ask them, what's your Twitter? And like people that there's code words. Yeah, there's code words. And so when they give them their Twitter, then the Twitter helps get to the OnlyFans, because you can't ask for OnlyFans, but you can ask for the Twitter.
Yeah. So I would just say that like, if this, for anyone who's like going to like fully pursue this, I would, this might sound silly, but like I would think about it in a similar way that the same advice I would give to content creators, where it's like diversify. You can't rely on one singular platform for your money, and especially for like making money. Like OnlyFans has gotten better at like not, they had like a bit for where it was like people were getting banned for like things or like a hiatus on payments and stuff. But the best way would be to not have to rely on only one platform that's promoting it. It's cross promoting it on every platform that you have, and knowing that one's going to get banned every couple months and you're going to have to start over on that one, and knowing that that's just part of it. And I would also say like taking payments, yes, from OnlyFans, but then also like, yeah, a Cash App kind of thing where you're going through it all on your own as well. And yeah, there's a lot of fitness people who will do that, like you said, similar of like women who like will be working out. I did see one on Twitter, which I have to say was truly the smartest advertise. I would have never fucking thought about it. It's a girl dancing in front of her mirror, and she put a ring light behind her dress. Her dress is on, but she's not wearing underwear, so you can just see the like it's illuminating, and it's a shadow of her vagina, and she's dancing and she's looking cute. And someone was like, "Oh my God, are these her vagina lips?" And someone quote tweeted and was like, "This is so creative and such smart fucking advertising." Like it truly found a way to get around it. And there's a lot of people who post about OnlyFans and like creators and how to do that kind of stuff, not in like pay $50 and here's my seminar and I'll take a cut of all of that. But there's a lot of people like talk on code, like really code that language, and have built platforms on talking about that on TikTok and places like that.
Yeah. And I saw this gal yesterday explaining how she's a topless house cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Which she I've only does, advertised. Yeah, but she did it for 5 hours the other day and made like $2,000. And she has like a bodyguard too, and she gives her bodyguard 30% of it. So I was like, and it was all in cash.
And the sugaring subreddit as well, that will show, I don't know what the correlation is, but I love reading the stories about the nanny subreddits. Like people talk about like some of because a lot of them are very LA and of like the people that they work for. And then the sugar baby one will come up too. But I think it's a lot of like employees helping each other to deal with all that. That's really helpful from like the things that I've seen. Obviously, I have not but I haven't interacted from a personal sense. So someone else could probably give a personal experience of it. But it seems like a lot of people who are recognizing that this career in this industry is highly stigmatized and is not necessarily socially acceptable or safe for people to talk about in public and or in the daily practices. And so it's a lot of coming together and people who you don't even know who are just were able to get where they are safely by helps of other people, and everyone's paying it forward and making sure everyone's safe because it's self-regulated. So I think that's a great resource too, and just information too, because the more information you can get before deciding to do it, I think is better. So yeah, that's it for our episode. We hope you all enjoyed. Do you feel like we gave wonderful advice? I do.
I do too.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can leave us a review on the podcast app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We always appreciate it. And like we said at the earlier part of the episode, we are also on Patreon, so you can support the show. If you like what we're doing, you can join us for our live streams if you want. It's a great way to socialize, COVID-friendly, distance, make friends with people all over the globe, because we have people who are from America and then someone went to the UK and they were like, I'm going to go hang out. Like you ever needed like a friend in a cool place that you want to go visit? This is the way to do it. This is like adult pen pals. It's like, it's a fun time and everybody's cool. We really vet for everyone. And if you want to call in for an upcoming episode, again, you can leave us a voicemail or send us a voice memo. The voicemail 310-694-0976 and voice memos to meganpodcast@gmail.com. Head on over to our socials, like the content we make, and tell us something good that happened in your week.
I like that.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Bye. Don't Blame Me is a production by me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melissa D. Montz, plus Diamond Imprint Productions.
Post-production sound and editing by Coco Lorenz.
Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson.
And music by Giacomo Picasso and Ryan Hunter.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out Real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.